Welcome to Talking Hoosier Baseball. I'm Carl James. On Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, Josh Bennett and I sat down with Indiana University pitching coach Dustin Glant for a wide-ranging discussion. Glant is in his second year with IU. Before that, he was the AAA pitching coach for the New York Yankees organization and also had college pitching coach experience with Ball State University. Last season had some challenges for the Hoosier pitching staff. What lessons have you learned from that season?
Oof. Yeah, it's especially the first time losing as well, of just trying to figure it out. Really just, and Merce was great about it, is we brainstormed relentlessly, nightly in the hotel rooms, and of just figuring out, what can we do different from pitch calling standpoint? What can we do different from, usage standpoint? Is there things we need to be doing between me and Denton and Merce, just trying to figure it out? And it was just, it seemed like it slowly started to improve towards the back half. So we really tried to build on some of the things that we implemented, which was the guys you'll see in the outfield, they're throwing, their partner has a plate and they're down on the plate just to build some awareness and some accountability. And I think, maybe if nothing else, some subliminal, they do that for their job. So maybe the more reps that they get with the plate there, even in catch play. So we've done that. We've done a lot more mound work this year than we did last year, and we try to, even on our lower intent days, get on the mound. My Yankee buddies are experimenting, and they run strings that are kind of like throwing lanes, almost like a bowling alley, except you got your guy kind of throwing in his lane. And so we've implemented that all season into our catch play. But I tell you, it's as much between the years as it is anything. And that's been the hardest thing for me, is just how do you talk about lack of execution without beating them down to a level that, they never come back from, or if they go 1-0 and now might as well be 3-0 in their mind, right? Oh goodness, it's 1-0. So we've discussed a ton about first pitch strikes, about staying out of 3-ball counts. So from a foundation of, kind of what the training looked like this year, much different than last year. But I say the hard part is just even these early scrimmages, like I don't see the returns yet. So I'm hoping that closer and closer we get to the spring, that some of it starts leveling off a little bit, and we can maybe pick up where we finished last year versus having to, because you just can't, it's any baseball. You just can't win with freebies. The freebie war is what always decides it. And so, yeah, that's what we're right in the middle of.
When things weren't going well in the season, what did the communication sound like that you were having, both to your pitchers and your pitchers back to you?
Setup was a lot of it. Hey, is there a better place where we can set up? What are we doing from a mindset standpoint? It's just, do we need to shift where your eyes are? Do we need to shift where the gloves are? I assume some of those guys, it's the first time for them failing too, right? So now they're scrambling, and they're their heads spinning, and they've probably never been through that situation either. And so it's like they're failing for the first time, and then over pressing, right, trying to do too much, and but still expected to perform, and we weren't very deep, and so there wasn't like there was somebody to stop the bleeding. It's like, no, we're just going to keep hemorrhaging free bases, and so if you're in, it's like in a lineup, right? Your top half doesn't go, but your bottom half goes, right? Eventually, that takes some pressure off the top half, and the top half starts going, and they kind of, in last year, the first half for sure, we couldn't stop the bleeding.
Now, several pitchers last season, particularly Bradley Bramer, Reese Sharp, and Ty Bothwell, made huge improvements from February to May. What did those guys manage to do to progress course of the season?
Confidence. Unfortunately, I wish it was different, but so much of your confidence is based on your results. And I think you get a couple good outings under your belt, and then you start believing in yourself. And then, magically you're attacking the zone and you're being the aggressor. And, I think Brad, even in maybe the second week at Arkansas, had a little bit better outing, and he built off of that. And I know we used that, and I think he closed at Miami, and we ran him out there even in a blowout, just to your point of just trying to get him on some sort of a roll. And then that's the big thing with having Denton Sagerman as director, helping out with the operations side, is just he's so helpful with, you got a half a season's worth of data, and now where's guys actually having success, right? Where does Bremer really need to be throwing? And that was where we switched gears, and we had been trying really hard to go in on lefties with the sinker, and when he got it there, it was okay, but if he didn't get it there, he got hammered. And so we scrapped that. We started just living arm side with the fastball, brought in a lot more changeups, and by that time of the year, the slider turned into a real weapon. So he worked at it, but I think had some success, and once he had that success, started believing in himself again, and your stuff just kind of naturally. Same with Ty, right? I mean, Ty put us on his back for 3 or 4 weeks there, right? From Minnesota on, pretty much said, "Let's go, boys." And so he's building off of that, which is great. So,
looking back, your first season back at college, how did that differ from being a coach in the professional ranks?
It's funny. I'm out for 3 years, right? 3 years, and you forget everything you know about the college game. And I did. It was like I tried to naturally just coached it like I did there, and I assumed so much about the players, and surely they know how to do this, and they know how to do this, and they know how to do this, and they know how to hold runners, and this is nothing new, or just they all compete. You just assume they all compete. And so we went right into the fun, the hard stuff, right? Pitch designs, movement profiles, a lot of the advanced metrics, and we skipped A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and we went all the way to the end to where you usually get to. You try to get guys to by the end of their 3-year, 4-year career. And, oh man, it is. And it's funny because that was another thing going through last year is I'm, turning over every stone I can. And I have a huge duffel bags of all my stuff from Ball State and Anderson. And, you're looking through all, had similar problems at Ball State and kind of how you solved them, and just so many things that you're like, oh my gosh. Like, we started holding runners at Ball State the first day of the fall, right? We had the stopwatch, and you're 1-3 or less, and it just got away from the fundamentals of college baseball, which is wins and losses. How do you win college baseball games? And do you equip your guys to win college baseball games? And I would say that was a big piece. Is like, boy, we could light up a track, man. But we ain't playing track, man. We're playing Big Ten baseball. And it was exposed early on that some restructuring on my end I needed to get back to where we were at Ball State. And it was a similar situation, I would say, with that. I think the first year at Ball State, I think we walked a ton of guys, and the second year was much better, and then the third year it was really good, where I think we finally ended up getting like a 3-1, 4-1 strikeout to walk. So I kicked myself a little bit and it was a late transition coming over right there in September, but man, we'd love to have it back and get into a lot more of the stuff that wins baseball games versus trying to make everybody have a cool pitch package and everything else.
Would you say there's a difference in the profile of pitcher that you recruit from the transfer portal versus out of high school?
I think I'm in between. I think that if you're, it's just you look at the good teams, right? Rutgers, you look at Maryland, you look at Florida State, you look at Notre Dame, you look at a lot of these teams, right? They just throw strikes. So not that they don't know everything else, but that's a main, again, freebie war, Central Michigan, right? They're not going to wow you, but you're going to put in play, and you're not going to beat themselves. And so I just think that's a big piece of it, to where if we can take kids that we know check that box, then we can get to the fun steps, or the steps that are more in my strength of, can we make their stuff better? Can we elevate kind of who they are as a pitcher and their skill level? But at the same time, right, that's the other thing. This is an awesome league. This is a really good league. I was super, super impressed with the Big Ten, and just the quality of lineups that you face week in and week out. And so you're going to have you're going to need to take some shots with some skill guys that you can hopefully develop to be regional type arms. Because that's what you're wanting to do. So it's a blend. To me, big time shift in what we're looking for, and just that's a prerequisite. Is like, can this guy, 70%, you're still going to take your shots on the big, long, linky guys that have the long, 3 or 4 year draft potential type of guys. But Drew Thorpe is the guy that, the Cal Poly second rounder with the Yankees, and I think, he can. I remember studying him a couple times. He faced a few opponents and just being so impressed with his command. I think that's kind of where the pro models kind of turn into is man, this is really, really hard. Nobody can figure out how to teach command, but we can do all these other cool things. So let's go get some guys that do command, and let's teach them the cool stuff. And so I feel we're more in line with that moving forward.
We've noticed in the fall that your pitchers are throwing more off-speed pitches. Gabe Levy, you mentioned us in an interview last week that he felt that you were having him throw more off-speed as well. Can you kind of tell us what your thinking is behind that?
The biggest thing is it's the only time you get to work on it and get feedback from hitters. And so you can, there's a lot of things that you can look at fastball command wise and things during those October, the 7 to 8 week kind of development window that it's hard to get feedback from hitters. So it's like, you have your fall scrimmages, you have your 5 or 6 weeks to see how a pitch plays, how the hitters react. Like, do we have a real pitcher, especially with the transfer guys, right? Because I'm learning them. I'm trying on the fly. I have everything that they've done in their past. But obviously part of the recruiting process with those guys of like, hey, how can we help you improve even more? And so we come in with some ideas as far as how we can maybe help guys kind of elevate their level a little bit. But yeah, that's the big thing in for us this year is just, that was another lesson learned last year is I think we were 6% changeup usage. And I think college baseball on average is right around that 13%. So almost half. And again, not saying we have to be like everybody, and I get all that, but changeups when you talk to our hitters, right, what's a hard pitch to prepare for? And they're all going to tell you, a well-spun changeup. And so we threw a lot of changeups this fall with everybody. One, just to see if they could do it. And then two, to get the hitters' feedback of like, is this a real pitch for this guy, and how are they reacting to it? And you just get, it's like you get a little mini season. So you want to kind of do some things and get some feedback that as you're working through some potential theories on stuff.
That actually leads to a question I had later. I'm going to go ahead and jump to it now.
Sure.
Which is that even before your tenure at IU, we've been hearing from your predecessors about adding a changeup to a college pitcher's arsenal. So and we've heard about it, obviously a bunch about it since you've been here. For someone who wouldn't know, what is a good changeup, and why is it so effective?
The other beauty of it is it can be a million different things. Like the definition of a good changeup, I think, is going to be the result in the arm speed. And again, Connor Foley right now, right? His is really firm, and if you looked at it on the track, man, it's not going to wow you. But the hitters hate it because it has four-seam spin, so it mimics the spin of his fastball, and he throws it with great arm speed. And so they're kind of, he's got, I think it's like 7 or 8 mile an hour difference. It's kind of a mid-80s pitch, but his fastball's been, low 90s. And if you can sell it with the arm speed, it doesn't need to have this, big arm side run or anything to it. It just comes out of the hand in the same spot that a four-seam does and spins in a similar way, and they have to make an early decision anyway because his fastball's getting on you. And so metrically, it wouldn't wow you, but from results, he had really good results with it this fall. And there's several different ways. There could be, guys that it's a totally different pitch than a fastball, and it has success with movement and velocity change. There's the one that Savacool at Maryland is a great example. Is his sinker and his changeup look identical out of the hand, and so it's really confusing for the hitter. They're both running to the arm side, and it's kind of Brooks Eye is one of our transfers in from Fordham. He's kind of in that boat to where, is that the sinker or is that the changeup? They both spin the same way. They both kind of look the same way. They both sink. They both run to my arm side. Where guys like Connor Foley, Luke Hayden, it's more of a four-seam spin. They're tricking you with the arm speed, and it's not going to move a ton, but it's going to get you out in front enough to keep you honest.
This is kind of a loaded question, but is your staff, or will they be ready for Auburn?
Oh man, I tell everybody that asks me, like, call me on the way home, because I'm optimistic by nature, and I felt so good about last year's group. I felt so good about going into Clemson. I was happy with and again, it was probably it was a good example, of thinking you're prepared, but then looking back and the things that I would have done different. But from a gut and an optimism side, I felt good about last year's group and where they were, and thought that we were ready. And then for that to happen and kind of start the spiral, I'm not making that same mistake. So give me a holler on the bus ride home, and I'll let you know.
At what point in this whole season process do you expect to have pitchers settling into specific roles?
Usually I would say that about that fourth week, that gives you 3 or 4 series to kind of see in some midweeks and where guys are at. It's a pretty decent 4 or 5 outings from each guy, somewhere around, certainly by the Big Ten. But if you could do it, maybe that 4th or 5th series when we're home, I would assume for the pitcher's sake and our sake, that'd be great to have an idea of where everybody's kind of what style we're going with. If it's going to be a 3-3-3, it's going to be kind of an opener and to a middle guy and a lot of matchup stuff, or it's going to be a traditional, hey, we got 3 guys that are going to go 5 to 7 innings, and we got a handful of stoppers, that are going to go 1 inning each, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. Just kind of seeing where, and that's how we're building guys up now. We're just building everybody up for 65 pitches that first weekend, and seeing how it plays out. I would say by week 5 you'll have a better idea of, do you have some horses that can take it and get through a lineup 3 times, or are we more of a matchup? Hey, let's get through the lineup once, twice, and then let's hand it off to the next guy. Let him do it once or twice, and which is, as we're seeing in pro baseball, a pretty effective way too. So it's just a matter of time, I think.
I know in the past we've heard a lot about like profile matching, where you try to take pitchers with different profiles and stack them. Is that something that you're looking at? If
we get there, right? It sounds great in theory, but at the same time, I think, again, learning off of last year, looks great, but if a guy can't pitch to a game plan, right, or he can't pitch to a scouting report, you got a really cool theory that may have a short road there of actually going back to winning baseball games, where you could say, potentially, hey, I'm just going to take the strike thrower that can throw a glove side fastball at the knees 75% of the time and take our chances and go that direction. But yeah, that would be tremendous to get into some sort of a system to where you had a 7th inning guy, an 8th inning guy, a 9th inning guy, and they all, you had an over the top righty and a low slot lefty, and then some combination of both or whatever. But I think it's just a matter of time to see what we actually have in games.
Among the returning pitchers, who has made the biggest improvements from last spring?
I tell you, man, Holderfield's, he's still on ramping right now, so it's tough to say with him. But Bothell's been phenomenal. He's as confident as I've ever seen. His stuff is as good as I've ever seen it. Luke Hayden has had a great offseason. Really excited about him and where he's at. And then Crafty is this. I'm really excited about all three of them, and that's where I have to be careful, right? Because I get excited about them, and I need to let the hitters tell us what they think of them before I get too excited. But all three have done a great job. We've done some new things with all three of them that we feel is going to play into their strengths and play into some success that we think for them. And that's all from the early feedback that we got from our hitters is they like the adjustments all three have made. So hopefully that continues into the season.
How are the catchers doing in working with this group of pitchers?
It's a challenge. Because outside of those three, it's a new staff, right? And so they're really, what I like is that they care. They care that the pitching's good. And so, like I said before, we've thrown a ton off the mound this year. We're never short catchers. There's always guys volunteering to be down there. That would be my biggest thing is that they care that we're better on the mound. And how do they show that? Because they're always available. They're always around. It's a way tighter unit, I think, than last year in that regard of, not that they didn't care about the pitchers, but they're just around so much more. There's a definite sense that like how a servant, almost of a servant type of feel to it of like, how can I help? What do you need? Who needs extra work? On Sundays when we're not up here, the guys will be throwing or doing whatever on their own, and you hear bits and pieces from the catchers. Hey, I caught so and so, and man, he really looked good, and I caught so and so, and he looked good, and we were working on this, and so just some ownership that they've taken to be, I think, just a supportive group for the pitchers. Whereas, how that can get it sometimes of, oh man, I got to catch another bullpen, and it's been complete opposite. They are all in on helping us get better, it's been great.
New names that we need to be looking out for.
Yeah, you got Ben Seiler, who started. He's kind of coming as a starter, been a Friday night starter. He's been a really calming force for everybody. And he's turning up right now, so I hope that a lot of it is just this is his 5th year, right? Been there, done that, been around the block. He knows it's go time, and so he's been great. Same way with Levy, Gabe Levy coming over from Davidson. The nice part with him is he has experience as a closer and his experience as a starter, and he's kind of could be a utility knife type of guy, right? Could fill tons of roles if we needed him to. He had statistically our best fall, and so he's really he's a nice piece that we feel really confident in. Seti Manasseh, coming over from Tacoma. He's been as advertised strike thrower, gets right after guys, super competitive. We've tried to give him improve the breaking stuff a little bit with him to just give him a little bit more of an option to some lefties. So that's been his focus. He's another one that he doesn't have a lot of experience on the back end, but he at times with the splitter can have back end stuff if we needed it to. Adrian Vega he's again strike thrower from Butler. He's been great this fall, or really this winter. That was a good one because he came in, I think, early in the fall and got smacked around a little bit. And I was like, whoa, hang on here, and he got a little gun shy. And so that was, to your question earlier about the offense, like that was a great one for him because that was good for our offense to smack him around and to kind of get that hopefully out of his system, because he's been great this winter early. So, Wes Burton is coming along. Obviously, a guy with some experience in the SEC and in big environments, which to me was a weakness for ours of just guys not having experience in those big environments last year. So he kind of gives us that, and just trying to make some changes to help him get in the zone more. Who else am I missing? You got Nate Ball from Youngstown, been a closer, could be hopefully a nice back end arm for us. Got Brooks Eye, he's same, right? Like started at Fordham, closed this summer. Was a lockdown closer. I think was an all-star this summer as a closer. Sinker guy. Luke Senard, potential starter for us. So it's funny, I guess you go through it all. I mean, most of your guys are new guys. I don't know where I don't think any of us know where it'll shake out just yet. But I would say from a depth standpoint, we're in a better spot than last year. Again, hindsight, looking back, I think that we only pitched 11 guys maybe on the year last year. And, something else that I looked into right in the off season is like you look at all these teams and most of them are anywhere from like 15 to 19 guys. I think Louisville even had 21 guys pitching a game last year. And so just being able to have that depth and those options to move people around is you would think would help us this season.
Look, you mentioned Holderfield and how much he was used last year.
Yeah.
Talking about would it have made more sense if there had been more depth that he would have been used in kind of shorter stints, like 1 inning appearances, as opposed to being expected to cover multiple innings when he came in and had to appear?
It's possible, right? That's another thing about college baseball, right? Is you see it works both ways. But most coaches, and I'm, when you got a hot hand, and the other team, Kentucky game comes to mind, right? That we do such a good job of managing workload and knowing what guys are capable of and not capable of, and staying on top of that we feel like if we put a guy in a position to extend, one, he's physically ready, but then two, that's the other thing that you get is that if he's physically ready and he has the other team emotionally defeated, I mean, you ride that dude to the end, because as you know, and it's happened several times, you hear MLB guys talk about it, and having played on that side of the fence, it's a real thing. It's a real thing that you pull a guy that has your number, and man, everybody starts pepping up a little bit. Okay, now now we got a shot. We got a righty in the game or whatever. Like, thank goodness that lefty where the ball was coming out of the A on the Indiana sign is out of there, because we couldn't see him and we weren't going to hit him for 100 years, right? So there's that piece of it, but it's tough to say. It's tough to say because he was. Now, I would say more so probably overexposed.
Okay.
Of had freshman stuff, right? Has your typical freshman stuff, and was unique, I think, early on, right? And then the hitters really catch up there, and they have half a season of at bats, and they've seen several sidearm lefties by that point, or sinkers, and he's getting a little bit tired. He's going through his he's going through the grind of his first time, and the hitters are starting to catch up. And we identified some things pretty early in the off season as far as mechanically, some things that just changed over the course of the season that we're really excited to get back to for him, that we think will get him back where he was. But that's, from a pitching coach's standpoint, to have 3 true freshmen that just always take the ball, want the ball, are 3 of your most competitive, look at Ryan Kraft's first outing at Clemson, right? No fear, zero fear. So you know that guy's going to be a winner at some point, right? Same weekend, you know, Luke Hayden is begging to pitch at Clemson. Couldn't wait to get in, and so you have that piece of it, right? So now it's like if we can get him caught up on a physical standpoint, and then Holderfield is. I mean, he was stone cold right away as a freshman, and wanted the ball in big situations, and was super competitive. And the same way, like, come on, you can get on my back. I'll carry you. It's fine, you know.
You guys kept him in for their, I forgot what his name was, but their big draft dude there at Clemson, and he got him out. So
Holderfield did.
Yeah.
With the big lefty hitter.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. They all three of them pitched that first weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I remember that it was sort of like because Kevin Chris was like, I don't know if they should keep him in or they should keep him in. I'm like, he's locating to lefties. He's doing fine.
Yeah, man. It's I hope that all pays off. The battle scars from last year for all of us, but for those guys especially, because they went. You know, Purdue, I pitch 8 innings. You get hidden, and you don't. It's more your typical, 8 to 20 innings or whatever. Like not 50 or 60 with 25 appearances. So that was tough dudes.
Thank you for listening to Talking Hoosier Baseball. See you at the BART.